And there she blows. It's January 22nd. This sucker has been blowing all day. It's pretty well coming in horizontal now. So we're expecting about, I don't know, 40-50 centimeters. That's a couple of feet, give or take, on either side. This is going to be just a quick walkthrough of how to, in my opinion, realistically be a prepper. As the title says, beyond a fucking space blanket and a bag of Smarties, right? Anyway, as you'll see, this property is it's an old century farmhouse. That's the barn. The farmhouse is back here. That's where I live. That's a guest house, or at least I think it was built originally as a guest house. When I purchased this place in 2006, it was being used, by the looks of it, as some kind of a cannery. And as soon as I saw it, I saw automatically shop. So I insulated, dropped in a small wood stove, had to pop in a chimney, so forth. It hasn't been used in about 3-4 years. I've been busy doing other stuff, and plus the market for the sticks just went south, so I just got out. Now let's do a walkthrough. So just around the corner here, you can see right there, there's the door. That's the mudroom. The mudroom connects to the house in this direction, and then the mudroom connects to the barn. And inside the barn is half of this. Bucked and split, of course, and tossed through that window. The barn, when I did that walk through, I saw right away, well, this will keep my firewood dry. It leans like an old drunk back in that direction. You can't really tell, but it serves that purpose. Now this, that's for all you left coasters, eat your hearts out. That's nothing but hardwood, mostly maple, birch, some ash tossed into there. And the minimum order for me is 6 cords, so that's 3 cords. Half of it was split, was bucked and split last spring, and left out all summer. Stacked along here. I had pictures up every now and then. At right angles to the predominant wind, that's important to know, so that the wind blows through the stack and dries it out. And so I buck and split. It usually piles up somewhere around here, then stack, then toss over to the window, then toss through the window. By the time it's done, between bucking and splitting, stacking, tossing again, 6 cords of wood gets moved several times. So that keeps me warm. There is an old oil furnace down in the cellar, but I haven't used it in about 3 years. I get by strictly on wood. The property, it's about just short of 2 acres. Has a lot of maples. These are maples. So that's why I have called the property Ahorngraben. Ahorn being German for maple, and Graben for grove. As you can see, I'm not off the grid. There's a reason for that. My cash flow dried up. That's why this place shut down about 3-4 years ago. This never got done. That there road leading up to a tertiary road is about a click and a half up this way. There are 2 other properties on here, so my next neighbor is about halfway there. So, and then there's another one at the top of the road, way up here somewhere. So coming around here, as you can see, I've got some work waiting for me in the spring. That's a willow. This winter has already brought down these 2 and some more on the other side. I just may chop the whole thing down. Willows tend to grow themselves to death. So, and that tree line here, this is all reserve. nature reserve. The coyotes hang out in here. You can always hear them, but you'll never see them. During the summer, it's sometimes really cool. You can hear two packs, or at least the alphas of each pack, howling back and forth and yapping at each other. So, into the house, that's just, this is as far as I've got with renovating, as far as putting up gyprock. You can see I've gotten, whoops, this far. That's the blizzard happening outside, so there's somewhat of a whiteout combined with the day's light. And around here is where I started my first learner garden 2 summers ago, about 400 square feet. It was a bust. It was a bad summer all around. Plus I planted about 3 weeks too early for this area. Potatoes came up, a few cukes. That was about it. So as you can see back here now, that's as far as I've gotten with renovating. You can see where I opened up the wall here, and up on top, blew down insulation, then stuck in some bat, then blew down from here into this section, and the bat is there so that the insulation doesn't slide down. Nice thing about these old farmhouses, and there are hundreds of these in Nova Scotia for anyone who's seriously thinking about relocating, is these aren't really studs, they're beams, or 6x6 beams in this place. It's a 100-year-old farmhouse. So once the insulation is blown in, code only calls in the walls, code calls for RV12. And I must have at least our RV20 in here, which is usually what is only called from the ceiling. This is a floor, there's a bedroom up there. This squiggly shit, that can be brought down with some kind of a liquid and it just scrapes off. As you can see, this flowery bordering crap is all through this house. Elmer and Vivian was nuts on this shit. When my real estate agent told me that the sellers were a couple in their 80s, I knew, boom, right away, bingo, here we go. This window, there's a living room on the other side, which is an addition, probably stuck on during the 70s, I would imagine, judging from the materials used, so forth. But through my first walkthrough, I noticed that all this framing, this used to be a window facing due south. So nothing but sunshine was coming into this old house. And now, of course, that sunshine is blocked off by the addition. But all the framing, the window frames, there's the door to the living room, the door frames, this frame, everything was plumb. So I knew that whatever settling this old place had done, it probably did it within its first 40 years of existence. So that's really important to look out for. Like, has the place settled? Because you look at some of these things sometimes, and the roof looks like a horse saddle, etc., etc. There's another window just like this. The wood stove is just around the corner here. That window I had to take out and stick it into the kitchen because that kitchen window faces north, and the north wind with winter days like this has been blowing into it for years. So I made that change the second year here. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. But as I say, there's one workstation, another workstation, and ta-da, this workstation. There's a reason for that. I don't need to go into it. Photocopier needs a drum. Fax machine. You never know. Sometimes you still need a fax machine. That's an old Acer handed down to me by an internet girlfriend. As was this compact handed down to me by an internet girlfriend. I don't know what it is with this. I'm not going to think about it or try to figure it out. And swooping around here, kitchen is down over that way. Downstairs bathroom, just on the other side of this wall. There's another one upstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs. And there's another view of it. So that's where we are. There's the Triscus banner. As you can see behind it, some people will recognize this right away, most people won't. That's a Berber cape. In 1971, I spent about a week haggling from this sucker to get it down from asking price of $100 to 50 over many glasses of mint tea and cups of keef. And then once I got it down to 50, we did the deal. And I found myself fucking broke in Africa. So somehow I managed by hook and by crook to get back to London, which is where my return flight was flying out from. There's a bigger story involved to that, and I won't get into it right now. Full circle, back to here. Storm's still going. So this is actually my second property here in Nova Scotia. My first, I made the transition from Vancouver to here in 2001. The first one was a 400 square foot cabin, which in 2006 the real estate market made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Some people will know what was happening with the real estate market in 2006. They will understand, and for those who don't, I'm not even going to bother attempting to explain. And this is where I ended up. So there's nothing but bush all around me. As I said, it's about just short of 2 acres. One of these days I may learn how to farm. One of these days I may have some cash flow again to, actually get off the grid. But I'm better positioned than most. And here's a really important tip for people who are seriously considering of relocating and prepping. To make these kinds of moves, you're looking at least 1 to 2 years of just like prepping for the prep. You have to get out of wherever you're at. If you own, you have to sell off. If you're fortunate enough to have a job, you have to cobble together a good exit strategy from it. Make the purchase wherever it is you're going to be moving to. And if you've got all the necessary skills, you can be on your own. But me, I don't. And I didn't. So I've attached to a community of about 700. And that's a really good suggestion. I picked that one up in a peak oil book, actually. If you can, attach to a community between 700 and 10,000 and around there. Because whatever skills you are lacking, and you will discover that you are lacking certain skills to make this kind of a lifestyle shift. It's, being able to swing a hammer and push a saw is good, but there's a lot to learn. And even with my little community of 700, I have covered for me every skill that I don't have. And plus there's 1 gas station, 1 hardware store, 1 supermarket, etc., etc. So that's the route I have gone. It's a bit more complicated than buying a pack sack off the internet for $50 with a space blanket and a couple of bags of Smarties. There's a lot involved in making this kind of a shift, and especially picking up a livelihood. As I say, for my first several years in Nova Scotia, being the Stickman, Evolution of Stickman, that's the local newspaper that caught me. It worked. I mean, I came from being, a mid-level management hack in Vancouver to being the Stickman. You've got to figure something out. And if you can make it home-based, all the better for you. Just some stuff to keep in mind. It's a big, big life decision. It's got to be thought out, cost factored, etc., etc., etc. And then you just do it. So, as I say, I'm doing okay. Shit can hit the fan any day as far as I'm concerned.